Okay, so this is the homework assignment where we can actually create a plugin together. This is a real simple exercise, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the weekday that we have. Well, actually, we can end up. See, I thought it was doing the Hello Dolly one. Hold on, let me backtrack. Let me go through Hello Dolly, copy this over, call it quotes. And I want to make my own plugin with this. Don't need the stop section here. Call it my custom quotes. These are random quotes based, developed using the Hello Dolly plugin. Put my name here. This will be version 1.0. And I don't have a link to my site. All right. So over here, I need to call this another name. So I'm going to call it random quote. And here, what I could do is, instead of the lyrics, I can end up putting in different quotes. 4.7 years ago, wherever you go, there you are. This is our finest hour. Whatever quotes you want to put in place, okay? Now, it's using this variable called lyrics. We can call it quotes if you want to. $ quotes, just to be more descriptive. And replace it here. And replace it here. And one more here. So it's just a variable. A variable is just a storage location, and we normally want to give it something that's a little bit more descriptive. So great, I ended up giving it, instead of lyrics, I just switched it to quotes. Oops, did I miss one? Oh, right here, thank you. Oops. Okay. Next, what we end up having is we end up having this function call the random quote function. So maybe I'll call it get quote. So I want the chosen quote to call this function up here at the top. So I am going to say chosen is equal to random quote. So it calls up this, it gets one of these 3 items and passes it back. Now, I don't want it to be an ID of Dolly. That's going to conflict with the other one. So I'm going to just call it the ID of my quote. So in essence, what will happen is it'll display this paragraph tag in the same place as the Hello Dolly, but it's going to show one of my quotes instead. Now I got to stylize it though. So I end up having to put, first of all, I have to call this one, my add action. I still want it to be in the admin notices area. So I want it to run this function here called random quote. So in the add action admin notices, I'll have random quote called here. Okay, so now I should, from this part here, I should have the HTML that's going to show up at the very top, but it isn't styled at all. So I need to style it, so I'm going to have to do this function called quote CSS. And this quote CSS gets called when I'm in the admin head, so I'll put that here. And looking at my CSS, if I know how to read this, I ended up making my ID my quote. So instead of # Dolly, it's # my quote. So far, so good. I'm just going to save that. All I did was just swap out some of the items in here. And just by doing this, I have a file called quotes inside of my plugins folder. And I should be able to see a new plugin from my admin area of WordPress. So let me do that. Go to plugins, and I've got this new one. It's got my name on it, and I can activate this one. And plugins activated. Did I miss something? Looks like I must have missed something when I activated it. Let me do a view source, see if I can find it. I don't have my quote showing up. See if I forgot to save it. Quote CSS, quote CSS. Positions from right to left, that one's fine. My quote is being called. One of 3 lines should show up in quotes. Can
you hear me?
Oops, I could barely hear you. Did you say something?
Yeah, you need to concatenate on line 25. Echo P dot. You need a apostrophe. You need to concatenate that. Like you need to close the quotations and then put a period. And then period again. Don't you?
Close the quote?
Yeah, like if you echo, close the quote, and then put a period, because you need to come out of to come back. Aren't you? Because right now, aren't you echoing HTML and then going right into PHP without coming out of the HTML?
I'm still in PHP.
I mean,
I think the line 45, you need to change the $dolly.
Line 25 to Dolly.
You don't need to change the dolly, pound, like the blog editor page, $dolly, to change it to my code or something.
Yeah, that's this one right here.
I'm talking
So
about
ID equals my quote, and then
Line 45.
this one here, right? Line 25.
yeah, I just texted you.
45. 45.
Oh, 45. Oh, thank you. I thought you said 25. Sorry about that.
Well, I said 25. I was looking at something there, but maybe what you have works too.
My quote, block editor page. If it's on the block editor page, it'll hide it. Let's try that. I don't think it's in a block edit section. That shouldn't matter really, because this one
That's all style, isn't it?
this one hides it if it's in a block editor page. So that shouldn't even show. Random quote. Oh, get quote, that's why. Admin notices is supposed to call get quote.
That's right.
Okay, so this was calling this one, and random quotes called up here. So I see. What this would have done is this would have given me this text. It would have just spit out on the screen somewhere. Let me see if it did that or not. So for whatever this, let's see. Should have been somewhere around here. I'm not sure which quote it sent out. Let's see if I can find one. No. Huh, didn't display.
Here, look at. Can you look at the comment I wrote you and see if that makes a difference?
Okay, let me see. You sent it. All right. PHP ID myquote dot chosen dot. You could. You shouldn't have to. I mean, you wanted to do this?
Well, I've always used single quotes because that's just the way I was taught.
Well, if I use single quotes, then I need to put double quotes here. Either
Right.
way.
That's how I wrote it to you, was with double quotes there.
Let me see what you got. Oh, I see. You did it the opposite. Okay.
Yeah.
That could work. Here, I'll do it. I'll do what you put in place.
Oh, and I forgot yeah, there you go.
What's that? Sometimes these quotes get translated in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In here, so I'm gonna have to try to just rewrite these. And same for the double quotes. It's doing. Shoot, hold on. Oh, it says my quote. Okay, so hopefully I got this right. All right, let's try that. But I think the main problem is I was calling the wrong page, the wrong function here. So admin notices is supposed to call get quote, calls this, runs random quote, comes back over here, and passes back a random line. So I'll save that. go back to our plugins area. Let me just run my plugin again. There you go. Wherever you go, there you are. Plus, on top of that, it did another random line from Hello Dolly. Refresh the page again. This is our finest hour. I can tell Dolly. So now, if I only wanted mine to show up, I could deactivate Hello Dolly, and only mine will show up with the 3 quotes that I have. Okay. So I did this on the fly, but thanks for double checking my work, because I was just pretty much just writing by hand, just trying to make sure I got all the pieces in place. But that's also part of, as you write code, you're going to find out that you're going to have to do a lot of troubleshooting. You'll make mistakes along the way. One thing that I might give advice to you guys as you become more seasoned programmers, and this is what ends up happening to me, and this is, I have to kind of go back to my college days. When I was in college, I was writing all this code, and I would mess around a lot. I would end up putting stuff like numbers where text should be and just try to hack away. I kept failing multiple times, and eventually I found out what the answer was. I didn't care about crashing the servers or anything. I just pretty much just went wild. And what I learned when I was doing that is I can see what problems occur when you put in a number where you're supposed to put a letter, and you'll get to see a lot of these different error messages that pop up. Later, when I started to program more as a professional, I started to have an ego, and I wanted to make my code work right the very first time I write it. Now, when I do that, I end up missing all those errors that pop up. I end up becoming a better coder that way because I know the language really well, and I'm trying to be professional and so on. And so I would say midpoint in my career, that's what I was doing. I was trying to make the most efficient code that's available, no mistakes. I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of my peers. Now, I'm almost going back to my college days, and I almost want to break things again and learn from my mistakes. If I end up breaking something in a lower development environment, at least I have some visibility of what happens when you put a letter where a number is supposed to be and things like that. And it gives me much more experience by doing that. And I develop faster. Instead of trying to make the perfect code and trying to develop as much as possible, I end up saying, well, let me just hack away. I'll start writing a few bits of lines and see what pops up. Did it come out okay? Great. It didn't. Oh, it gave me a bug. Come back again. So that's something that you may run into as you go into your career. But the first part of it is just mainly just getting it to work. That's the hardest part. And the easiest way is by trying. Try multiple techniques and seeing what happens. But thanks, you guys. You guys are second set of eyes. That's also recommended too. I have a coworker at the office, helps me out a lot. When I'm actually writing some code, he might come back and spot some errors that I have, like you guys did, and said, oh, you're supposed to be putting in some other items in this place. So anyway, both suggestions worked. I could put the quote in place. Still seems to work when I echo. When I put it into double quotes, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to interpret any variable I have on the inside. That's called magic quotes. So that's why I was pretty sure that the other syntax would have worked. If I ended up going back to, where was I before? This one. This, oops, even before that. More like this. This should have worked because what it'll do is it'll echo this string, and because it's in double quotes, it's supposed to replace this variable with whatever I came back with from the function. So I'm going to save that and see if it still works. I'll deactivate the plugin and I'll activate it again, see if it shows up at the top. Yeah, so it still works. That was the original code from the Hello Dolly, so it should have worked anyway. I didn't really change very much at all. Okay. Well, thanks for helping me out with that. You guys have any questions on how plugins work? The tricky part is where you could put those hooks in place when you end up going over to the API. When you go to this page. Now, one of the homework parts that I can actually switch to the homework right now, so you can actually see how to do the homework assignment. And I'll demonstrate it for you so that it's not too difficult when you guys work it out. So let's go over to the PowerPoint presentation on how to create a plugin. And it's talking about the 2014 theme, but we could always do this with anything we want to. And on this one, I'm going to try to use my own prefix, my initials, and I want to say it's my weekday. This isn't the greatest plugin, but it'll give you an idea that it can actually be placed in different areas. For example, my add action is on the login form. So it's at the very bottom of the login page. So I'll see it when I log out of WordPress. I will see this code here. It should show up right at the bottom down here when I log out. So I want to display the days of the week. So first step is I need to create a file called weekday.php, and I'm going to put it in the plugins folder. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, I could have put it into a folder itself and zip it up if I want to, but just as simple as making a PHP file is good enough. So let me go ahead and open that. Then I need to put some PHP code in. So I'm going to just put in an open and closing square bracket. I'm sorry, open and closing PHP tag. Okay. And the comment section, I can end up putting in the plugin name, the description, the author, and the version. So I'll just grab this. When you do yours, just replace it with your own name at the top. And remember, the slash asterisk is opening for a multi-line comment, and the asterisk slash is a closing one. But this does get read when you look at the plugin. So this alone, by saving this file, should give me a plugin. It's a plugin that does nothing, but it should show up in my admin area. Weekday plugin at login. Okay. If I activate it, it doesn't do anything because there's no code in place. It doesn't do any hooks or anything. So nothing happens when that plugin runs. All right, so in order to do this, all I need to do is put in the day of the week, some simple code that'll just echo to the screen the day of the week. So I'll just grab this. And I'll paste it still within my PHP tag. Should display the day of the week. If I save this and run it, what do you think will happen? Anything? If I activate this plugin, so great, it's active. But even if I did this and I go to the logout page, tried to see if anything's there, nothing's going to show up. Still nothing shows up. The reason why is you've declared a function, but you haven't called it. You haven't gone to any of the instructions on the inside. The way for a function to be run is you need to call it under certain circumstances, and that's where the hook comes in. So I'll go back into the admin area again. Well, actually, I don't have to. I can stay logged out. Should be able to do all my work. Since I already activated the plugin, I can just refresh this page. So because my action is in the login form area, this is where I want to run my function called my initials, my weekday. Just by grabbing this, pasting that in my code, saving that. So now that I'm on the login form, it should run this function. This function is going to display the day of the week, wherever this was called. So if I refresh the page, day of the week is Tuesday. It ended up giving me the information back. Actually, it shouldn't be the date function. It should be current_time, I believe. Great. So it's showing Monday instead of Tuesday. Okay. If we want to get fancier from what we learned before, we could put hours, minutes, and seconds.
Your server before, and now you're using the WordPress time?
The question was, when I did date the last time, it was using the server's date.
PHP's?
Yes, PHP server date. And by
Now
using current time is the WordPress function, which I set to Los Angeles time.
Right, okay.
Okay. Okay, so I was able to put the day of the week. Again, we could put in most of those items. Let me fill this in a little bit more. So it says Monday, and then we can end up putting in the month, day, and year. What was it? Like that. And then the hours, minutes, seconds was... I think that was it. Let's try it. Again, I'm hacking away. Yeah. And let me say AM or PM. I'll just save that one. And let's see if I can put a break tag in there or not. See if it'll work. Nope, that one didn't work. So with the angle brackets, because I put it inside of this paragraph, I may need to break this up a little bit. Say current time, do this. Put in a break tag. vr/quote dot, and then current time again. Sorry, I got this wrong. I want the day of the week. That part's fine. This part, I want to put it inside of the current time section. Oh, I really messed this code up. This is looking ugly. Sorry about this, you guys. Hours, minutes, seconds. Let's try it, see what happens. There we go. All right, so day of the week. Next line, it shows the full date and the hours, minutes, and seconds. So the problem we have with this is it's not formatted. I may want to put in some CSS code. So I want to put it at the top of the login page. So to do that, I need a function call to do my CSS. So I can end up grabbing this and say, run this function to go ahead and echo some padding, some margins, background color, and so on. So I could grab this code. Still within my PHP tag, I want to inject my function for CSS. So let's run that and see what happens. And nothing happens, right?
You didn't call it. Oh, okay.
You're right, nothing happened. The reason why? We haven't called it. We declared our function, we just haven't called it. Good catch, good catch. So when I'm in the login area, in the head section, I want it to run this function over here. So when I'm in the login page at the very top, when it hits the head section, I'm going to run DTT CSS, and I should be good to go from there. This is my trigger. Save that. Now it should work. And again, it's not going to be pretty. It's got ugly background color, but at least it's actually displaying the day of the week when I'm on my login page. And to show you that it is a plugin, let me go ahead and deactivate it and see if it disappears. Let me deactivate the weekday plugin at login and log out. Oops. Log out. And it's gone. Okay. So again, to view your plugin, you need to go to the plugin area, activate it. And then if you go to the login page, you can see how your assignment worked. Feel free to try different actions that are available. Like I said, I haven't tried all of them. There's many that are there. And some are for the admin area, and some of them are actually for the front end of the site. And some of them are when you even just save a file or save an item or some action that a user takes. But you could actually hook into any action that the user does from this API action reference and inject your own code wherever you'd like. The reason why we took this break to look at the plugins is because the final step we're going to do with the theme is we're going to create our own widget area that we want to use for our theme. So we're going to try to use this style of coding, and first what we're going to do is we're going to use our theme by itself and just go ahead and inject it. But then afterwards, what I want to do is I want to make something that'll be used on any theme. We're going to make a plugin called my signature basically, so that you have a plugin that puts your signature in any posts that you want to in square brackets. That's what we'll cover next week. All right, any questions, you guys?